The Axial SCX10III has only been out for a short time and I'm already finding great ways to ruin it. Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a look at the Axial SCX10III and doing some cheap, easy, and scale mods to make this truck a little bit better in my eyes anyway. There are a few great ways to improve performance right out of the box, and one of those ways is to get rid of the stock wheels and tires. I found that while the new Nitto Trail Grappler tires are a good looking tire, the performance is definitely lacking, and that comes down to actual compound of the tire and the spacing of the lugs. It is a good looking tire, and it is a little more scale accurate than some of the previous kit tire releases, but it is lacking in performance, and it really does come down to the compound. And while I like that beadlock wheel that they include, I don't like that the breather hole is actually in the wheel, which makes it a lot harder to get any liquid out. Typically, because of rotating mass, water will actually go to the outside of the tire when you spin it. And the best way to get it to get out of a tire like that is to vent the actual tire, because it's the furthest distance away from center. Centrifugal force, I believe it is. And if it's not centrifugal, it's centripetal. Centripetal. I think. I didn't take physics in school, so ask your teacher. But to remedy those problems with the stock wheels and tires, I went to a new wheel and tire combo. This is the RC 4-wheel drive Wrangler MTR, and it is an excellent Goodyear tire. It is an asymmetrical pattern. So, if it looks like one tire is backwards, it's not. This is how they're supposed to be set up as per Goodyear's actual tire specs. So keep that in mind when you look at these. They're not backwards on one side. This is how they're supposed to be. It is a 4.75 tire. It is substantially narrower than the stock kit tire that comes with the SCX10III, but the tread pattern and spacing is a lot more open. It's a very aggressive tire. It works very well in real life, and scaled down it does a very good job too. This is RC 4-wheel drive's softest compound, which I think they refer to as X2SS3 or something. I can't remember the nomenclature. I should probably look it up. Oh my gosh, I was right. It is the X2S3 compound. It's a very soft compound, very pliable, and because the lug spacing is so wide, it is a really excellent performing tire. And because it's this asymmetrical design, you have a much wider spacing on the edges, the outside of the tire, which gives you a lot better grip on rough obstacles like rocks or roots, any of the things that you might find yourself encountering on the trail. This is a great tire to use. Currently, I'm using the stock foams. It's a much better foam than many of RC 4-wheel drive stock foams. They do a pretty decent job, and I'm pretty happy with the performance. I did, in fact, vent these tires because I think I was intending to take this truck with me to Las Vegas about 2 weeks ago. We didn't go, but that's for another video. I'm also running Vanquish's Roost 1.9 wheels. These are a method wheel recreation. They are probably one of my favorite wheels from Vanquish. I really, really like the look. The back spacing is great for this truck as well. And you can really dress them up with some locked up RC hardware. Because they don't come with a center cap, I modified some existing old Axial SCX10 center caps, and I just trimmed away a bit of the material so they would fit around the actual locked up RC hardware. I think they look really good, and I think it really helps kind of seal the whole look of the wheel and tire package. I'll be sure to put links down below to where you can purchase all of these things if you also want to do these upgrades. And if you've got any comments or suggestions on things you'd like to see done to this truck or to your own truck that you've already done, by all means post your comments down below. I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of them as I can. Moving up from the wheels and tires, I wanted to go for a more stock look to the front bumper, and the best way that I could determine to do that was to print out a model of the actual bumper from a Wrangler JLU. This is a recreation of this steel bumper. I've printed it out in PETG, which is a much stronger plastic. It should hold up a little bit better than a PLA print. I'm not expecting it to last forever, especially with these long end caps included. I'll probably trim these off at some point. I did want to dress it up and make it look a little more stock up front, even though these are like 40-inch tires. It does really kind of, for me, make it look a lot more like a stock Rubicon, which is what I've got in the driveway. So I wanted to do that. I printed out these little tow hooks as well, just to make it as realistic as possible. I've also got Baja Designs Squadron Sports in my front bumper as the fog lights, so I wanted to try to recreate that here as well. If I get to a point where I'm really good at 3D design, I'll flesh this out and make it a much more rigid piece, and I will offer it eventually on my Shapeways store if I get around to becoming a 3D expert at some point. So don't hold your breath. And while waiting for a legitimate light package, there are some in the works, I know that for a fact. I did put in a temporary light kit using a Heyo-K headlight and taillight controller. This controller allows for front headlights and functioning taillights. Functioning in that it looks like the brakes are on, and then as soon as you accelerate, the lights dim a little bit to show that they're not in brake mode anymore. It's actually a really nice little feature and adds a ton of scale realism to your videos. I'll link to it down below. One of the other interior details that I've added is a screen from Scale Built. Scale Built makes these really awesome animated screens. I'm using one of his older versions. It's black and white. He does offer color. He offers all kinds of really cool scrolling effects. There's a GPS version that shows a GPS screen. There are all kinds of really cool features, and as luck would have it, the size of the screen fits perfectly in the interior where the actual screen would be. So I've got it taped in there with some heavy-duty Gorilla Tape. I trimmed out the actual sticker where the screen would be, and it fits perfectly. I think it adds a nice little touch to the interior. It's a really cool piece and just adds another dimension of realism that wasn't there before. He was kind enough to include a bunch of customized screens for the Scale Builders Guild. There's a blinker fluid low warning light. There's a Harley Resigns page. There's scalers for life, and you know my opinion on the word scalers. Yeah, it's a nice little touch to the interior, and I think it just really looks awesome. And I will definitely put a link down below to where you can pick one of those up because they are cool. And finally, a really simple and cheap upgrade to the drivetrain. The 14-tooth pinion that is included gives you a pretty decent ratio, right around 45:1 in its stock form in first gear, which is a really great sort of sweet point for where you want your crawler to be. I've opted to go to a 13-tooth pinion to drop everything down, and I've got a conversion chart that actually tells me what the new gearing is. So let me go. Stock final drive ratio is 45.63:1, giving you a top speed of 9.78 miles per hour. With the 13-tooth pinion, I'm dropping it to a 49.15:1 and a 9 mile per hour top speed. So it's dropping that speed just a little bit, giving you a bit better of a crawl ratio, and I think it's just going to really improve performance. Swapping out that pinion could not be easier. There are 4 screws holding the engine cover and the actual transmission cover in place. Because Axial uses a metal motor plate, it's very easy to see where you need to put the screws to change out your pinion size because it's labeled right on the motor mount. Once you've replaced your pinion and changed the motor mount position, drop that right back in, put those 4 screws back on, and you are good to go. Going forward, there will be a few more additional modifications I'd like to do. First of all is to put overdrive in the front axle, and that's possible because Axial offers an overdrive kit for the ring and pinion on the front axle. And I'd also like to do a trick I did from the Trail Honcho budget build, and that's actually dye both of the front and rear diff covers to be a solid black color. The red is a little distracting for me, and I know it doesn't do anything in the performance world, but it's a super cheap and easy modification you can do. I'll link to that video right up here so you can get an idea of how to do it. This truck is still very new on the market, and there are not a lot of upgrades available yet. There are a few things I'd like to see, and hopefully there will be a panhard mount that is aluminum or machined in some way. I think that would add a lot of strength and definitely something that I feel could be a stress point in the future. Obviously, I'd love to see metal axles. I'd obviously also like to see a straight axle version of this truck come out. And if the manual has anything to do with that, I think we'll see that sooner rather than later. So there you go, a few tips, tricks, and easy mods to do to your own Axial SCX10III. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.